Sarah tied the last ribbon to a chair. 6 months pregnant, she had planned a shower for 7 close friends. The front door swung open without a knock. Her mother's voice shot through the entryway, too bright.
"Sarah, darling, I brought a surprise. Well, a few extra guests."
Linda breezed in with a cake box. 20 strangers flooded the room. Jennifer followed, wearing a sash that read Mommy to be.
Mom thought we could combine our celebrations. You don't mind, right?
"Friends, Sarah is also pregnant. It's high risk, so please, gentle with her."
She just announced my private medical condition to a room of strangers.
Dr. Catherine appeared in the hallway, holding a clipboard. She stopped cold, her focus narrowing on Sarah. "This stress is exactly what we feared." The party resumed. Sarah stood frozen, while her mother rebranded everything around her. Dr. Catherine stepped forward, her expression unreadable as she slipped past the oblivious guests. "Sarah, come with me, now." She guided Sarah into the kitchen, away from the noise, and closed the door.
Why is my doctor pulling me out of my own baby shower?
"Your mother just announced your high-risk pregnancy to a crowd. Have you felt any cramping? Any stress?"
I didn't know she'd do that. I am just shocked.
"You have a placental insufficiency. Stress like this can trigger preterm labor. I need to call your husband." Dr. Catherine already had her phone out, dialing Michael. Sarah's hand found her belly. "Michael, it's Dr. Catherine. There's been an incident at the shower. I need you here immediately." Sarah leaned against the counter, the sound of laughter bleeding through the kitchen door, and felt dread colder than the tile. Michael's car screamed into the driveway, headlights slashing through the windows. He didn't bother shutting the engine off. He strode through the front door, his face a mask of controlled fury. The room went quiet.
"Everyone needs to leave, right now, no discussion."
"This is outrageous. I organized this for Jennifer. You can't just shut it down."
You announced her high-risk condition without permission. If anything happens to her or the baby, it's on you.
Linda's mouth opened, then shut. For once, she had no reply. One by one, the guests grabbed their coats and disappeared into the afternoon light.
So I am the villain? Everyone forgets I am pregnant too.
Sarah's phone buzzed. A text from Jennifer. "I am the real victim of the day." Dr. Catherine took Sarah's bag. Michael wrapped an arm around her, and they walked to the car. The hospital was waiting. Fluorescent lights washed over Sarah as they wheeled her into the L&D unit. Nurses moved around her, attaching bands to her belly.
Please let her heartbeat be strong. I can't lose this baby.
"Your BP is elevated, but the baby's tracing looks stable. We caught this in time."
You are safe now. I won't leave your side.
"This is a warning. Any more stress could trigger early labor. You need complete rest."
My mother knew my pregnancy was fragile. She didn't care at all.
Her phone vibrated against the tray table. Linda, again and again. Michael silenced it, but the screen lit up with a text. "This is all a blown-up misunderstanding. I meant no harm. Call me." Sarah turned away from the phone and fixed her eyes on the monitor's steady green line. The hospital discharged her the next morning with strict orders. Bed rest, no visitors, no stress. By noon, a delivery van idled outside. Michael brought in a huge bouquet of white lilies. The card read, "Hope you are feeling better. You know I meant no harm. Love, Mom."
She still can't say the word sorry. It's not a misunderstanding. It's a pattern.
Michael carried the vase to the front porch without a word. The lilies were too heavy with unspoken accusation. That afternoon, the real support arrived. A quiet line of friends appeared with casseroles and held her hand.
Every kindness from a friend made her mother's absence sharper. This is what family should feel like.
Then her phone buzzed with a forwarded message from an aunt. "Your mother says you are overreacting."
She's rallying people. She's made herself the victim.
Michael smoothed the blanket over her. Let them talk. You need peace. But Sarah's pulse counted every beat of silence. 3 days later, an angry fist pounded on the front door. Linda's voice cut through the quiet house.
I am her mother. You cannot keep me from my daughter.
The doctor said no visitors, especially ones who cause stress.
Sarah crept to the window and peeled back the curtain a slit. Her mother stood on the porch, arms waving, face twisted. Michael shut the door without another word. Outside, Linda's ranting faded into the afternoon. Sarah pressed her phone to her ear. Jennifer's voice came through, thick with sobs.
It was supposed to be my moment too. Now everyone's blaming me for your meltdown.
I can't do this right now.
She ended the call, but her heart slammed against her ribs. Michael appeared with the blood pressure cuff. Then he called Dr. Catherine. Her voice was calm but urgent. Breathe, Sarah. Slow and steady. If the tightening doesn't stop, come directly to the hospital. Dr. Catherine arrived the next afternoon with her medical bag and a thin manila folder tucked under her arm. How's the tightness? Any cramping since yesterday?
It's settled, but my head hasn't. I keep replaying everything.
Sarah, I need to tell you something. I confirmed this morning. It changes everything. She opened the folder, revealing a phone log. Linda's name was circled in red ink. Your mother was informed of the placental risk in a direct phone call 6 weeks ago. I made the call myself. Sarah stared at the page. The room narrowed to a hot point of silence. What she did wasn't careless. It was knowing endangerment.
She knew, and still used my pregnancy as a party icebreaker.
Michael's hand tightened on her shoulder. The shape of her family had just cracked apart. After Dr. Catherine left, the house fell into a deep quiet. Sarah finally let herself weep.
I kept hoping she'd change, but she won't. Not even for the life of my baby.
What do you need right now? Anything. Just say it.
I can't let them near me anymore. Not my mother, not Jennifer. They're poison.
Michael handed her phone to her without a word. The screen glowed in the dim room.
Blocking her number feels like severing the last thread, but I have to.
She scrolled to Linda's contact, then Jennifer's. 1 tap each, blocked. The screen went black. For a long moment, neither of them spoke.
It's quieter now. I can breathe.
Then the baby kicked. Sarah took Michael's hand and pressed it to the movement. They held that quiet together. Within 48 hours, the family group chat detonated. Linda posted a long message, carefully omitting the crucial word, risk. Linda wrote, I combined the showers to celebrate both daughters. Sarah's reaction has been extreme and frankly unfair to her sister.
Casually, she announced my high-risk pregnancy like she was sharing a neighborhood rumor.
Some relatives immediately took Linda's side, but an aunt from California video called, her face tight with doubt. She repeated Linda's talking points, that Sarah was being dramatic, that the announcement was innocent.
Innocent? I have placental insufficiency. Stress could cause preterm labor. And Mom knew. Her doctor told her directly.
The aunt's expression shattered. She stared at the screen, saying nothing. Before Sarah could take a breath, a girlfriend forwarded a screenshot. Jennifer's Instagram story. It read, sometimes the people you need to cut out aren't strangers. They demand you bleed silently.
She's still the victim. I am supposed to apologize. Not anymore.
That night, Sarah opened a new message. Her fingers hovered, then pressed hard. She typed, you knew my pregnancy was high risk. You chose to endanger me and my baby for a party. I can't have you in my life.
This is the last explanation she'll ever get from me.
She sent the message, then blocked Linda's number again before any reply could land.
It's done. Both of them.
You did the hardest thing. I am proud of you.
The house fell silent again, but this silence felt heavier, permanent.
Heavier, but safer. Like a locked door, I finally closed myself.
Michael wrapped his arms around her, and she leaned into the warmth, finally letting the tension drain. Outside, the streetlights came on. Inside, they waited for the baby, for the next fight, for whatever the morning would bring. The doorbell chimed 2 mornings later. Sarah looked up from the couch, immediately on guard. Michael opened the door, and his posture relaxed. A silver-haired woman with grocery bags stepped inside.
I brought soup, and I am staying as long as you need me. No arguments.
Evelyn set the bags on the counter, then crossed to Sarah. She took her hand without a word.
I didn't realize how much I needed someone who just shows up without conditions.
Evelyn began cooking in the kitchen. The scent of chicken broth and rosemary filled the house.
My own mother sent flowers with a spineless note. Evelyn arrived with soup and the truth.
Mom, did you hear about the shower and everything that happened?
Yes, and I think your mother needs to re-examine her definition of family.
Sarah watched Evelyn move around the kitchen. For the first time in weeks, the tightness in her chest eased. A courier left a small, fussily wrapped box on the porch that afternoon. Sarah recognized her sister's handwriting immediately. She brought it inside and set it on the table. The paper crinkled as she unwrapped it. Inside, nestled in cream tissue, lay a hand-knit organic baby blanket and a matching hat. A handwritten note was tucked beneath. The letter read, "Sarah, I never knew it was that serious. Please don't shut me out. We're sisters."
She says she didn't know, but even if that were true, why didn't she ask? Why didn't she care?
What do you want to do?
Nothing. I am done explaining. This stays here.
She slid the box, gift and note, onto a shelf in the hall closet. The return address remained blank.
Another hollow peace offering. I've buried enough for them.
She didn't reply. The house stayed quiet, and the quiet was no longer fragile. At 38 weeks, Sarah sat in Dr. Catherine's office. The fetal measurements lit up on the screen, steady and strong. "Everything looks excellent. Your stress levels stayed low. That made all the difference."
Low stress. She says it like a gift, but it was a war.
She traced the edge of the ultrasound photo. Her daughter's profile was sharp, real centimeters from the world. "Have you packed your bag? This baby could decide to come any day now." That evening, Sarah sat on her bed with a blank journal. She wrote until the paper was heavy with ink.
I am writing this, so I remember why I drew this line. What she did was not love.
She closed the journal and slid it into her nightstand. Then she pulled the hospital bag from the closet. She folded tiny onesies, socks, a blanket. Then she took a strip of paper and wrote clearly. The note read, "No visitors except Michael and Evelyn." She taped it to the bag's handle and zippered it shut. At 2 a.m., a warm rush soaked the mattress. Sarah gasped, her hand flying to Michael. He grabbed the bag with the note still taped to the handle, and they drove through empty streets under the streetlights.
We're almost there. Just hold on.
The emergency room doors slid open. A nurse wheeled her straight into a delivery room where Dr. Catherine was already waiting. "Contractions are strong. You are fully dilated. This baby is ready." On the monitor, the baby's heartbeat faltered. A deep, jagged dip. Everyone in the room froze. "Sarah, you have to push now. Give it everything." She bore down with a scream, and then a sharp, furious cry shattered the tension. The baby was out, pink and vigorous. Michael cut the cord with shaking hands, then pressed his lips to Sarah's forehead, their daughter squalling between them.
She's here, my daughter. After everything, she's here.
The recovery room was dim and warm. Sarah cradled her daughter against her chest, the baby's breath a tiny flutter. Michael sat on the edge of the bed, his hand never leaving her arm.
I am calling my mother. She's been waiting by the phone since midnight.
17 minutes later, the door clicked open. Evelyn stood in the frame, her coat bunched under her arm, eyes red-rimmed.
Oh, sweetheart, oh, look at her.
She took the baby with reverent hands and sank into the chair, a tear tracking down her cheek. She didn't say anything more, just breathed the newborn in.
This is grandmother. No strings, no performance, just here. Michael, I don't want my mother or Jennifer here. Not today, not this week. I can't.
They won't be. I'll handle it.
He slipped out to speak with the nurses. Sarah watched Evelyn rock her daughter, and the quiet in the room was the most honest sound she had ever heard. Michael's phone vibrated in the hallway. He stepped aside and answered. Linda's voice was already shrill.
I am that baby's grandmother. You will let me in immediately.
The health and safety of my wife and child come first. Not today, Linda.
He ended the call and walked to the security desk near the elevators. Behind the desk, a uniformed guard looked up. Michael spoke quietly, explaining the situation in a few precise words. The guard's expression hardened. He keyed his radio and made a note. No one gets through without approval. In the recovery room, Sarah heard the low murmur through the door and pulled the baby a fraction closer.
When Michael returned, he said, I told security to block any visitors not on the list. She won't get past the lobby.
The baby's breath warmed her skin. Sarah looked up at him, her face calm but entirely alert.
I knew she'd try. I am not afraid of her anymore. She can't touch us here.
The lobby erupted. Linda barreled through the sliding doors, Jennifer trailing, her face pinched with reluctance.
Where is my daughter? I demand to see her immediately.
A security guard stepped into her path, his hand raised. He didn't raise his voice. You are not on the approved list. I'll have to ask you to leave.
Mom, let's just go. This isn't going to work.
I am not leaving until I see Sarah. She can't keep me from my grandchild.
Upstairs, Sarah stood at the hallway window, holding the curtain back a few inches.
She's actually here, still fighting. But I am not the one fighting anymore.
2 officers appeared. They took Linda by the arm, guiding her out, Jennifer following with her head down. Sarah let the curtain fall. The hallway was quiet. She returned to her baby and closed the door, the lock clicking softly. 6 months after the hospital, a small package sat on the porch. The return address was Linda's unmistakable. Sarah carried it inside and set it on the dining table. She pulled the tape back slowly. Inside lay a silver frame. The engraving read, "First grandchild," and the photo was of a baby boy, Jennifer's son.
She's still trying to rewrite history. But I am not the same woman she walked over.
Sarah walked to the kitchen drawer, pulled out a yellow Post-it and a thick black marker. She wrote 4 words in calm. Block letters, wrong baby, try again. She pressed the note to the glass, then placed the frame back into the box. She sealed it without a second thought. At the post office counter, she attached the label and slid the box across the counter.
That's the last piece of me she'll ever get.
She never heard back. The silence was the only answer she needed. A full year passed in quiet rhythm. On a bright Saturday, Sarah set a tiny smash cake on the table, a single candle flickering. Evelyn arrived early, as she always did, and immediately knelt to clap for the baby. The 1-year-old laughed and grabbed at her glasses.
Look at you, little one. You've got the whole house wrapped around your finger.
Sarah wiped frosting from the baby's chin and looked around the room. Michael, Evelyn, a few close friends. No one uninvited. No one who demanded instead of gave.
This is what a grandmother looks like. She's been here every single time.
Evelyn lifted the baby and pressed a kiss to her cheek. The child squealed and buried her face in her grandmother's neck. After the cake, they gathered in the yard for a photograph. Sarah, Michael, the baby, and Evelyn, the 4 of them framed by spring sunlight. That evening, after the guests had gone, Sarah stood in the nursery and watched her daughter sleep. The house was full of quiet, but this time, the quiet felt earned.
We made it. We're whole.
He nodded and took her hand. Outside, the streetlights flickered on, one by one, the way they had on so many nights before. Only now there was nothing left to fight. One afternoon, a holiday card slid through the mail slot. The return address was Linda's. Sarah turned it over. Inside, just a printed signature above the generic sentiment. She glanced at it, then dropped it into the recycling bin without a pause.
Not even an attempt at a real word, just her name.
Her daughter babbled from the playmat, arms reaching up. Sarah scooped her up and carried her to the back door. The garden was warm with afternoon light. She set the baby on the grass near a bed of lavender. The child squealed and patted the ground. Sarah knelt beside her, barefoot in the grass, and thought of nothing at all. The card was already forgotten, buried under coffee grounds and junk mail. Her daughter tugged a handful of clover, and Sarah laughed, her shadow stretching long across the lawn. They sat for a family portrait. Sarah, Michael, the baby, and Evelyn. Soft studio light caught their smiles. She placed the photo into the silver frame that once held the wrong baby. Now it cradled the right one.
This is my family.
Evelyn held the baby close. The child laughed, and the shutter clicked at the peak of their joy. In all the birthdays since, the only grandmother present was the right one. In a hallway drawer, a yellow post-it still read, "Wrong baby. Try again."
It's not a wound. It's the receipt for my freedom.
That grandmother had arrived in the hospital lobby 20 minutes after Dr. Catherine's phone call. Sarah looked at the frame on the shelf and felt the full weight of her own peace. The house was quiet, but it was the quiet of a life wholly her own. Now the silver frame hung on the wall in the hallway, its plate still engraved first grandchild, but the baby in the photograph was all Sarah. Beside it, on a narrow shelf, rested the yellow post-it. A black line struck through "Wrong baby." In the same block letters, she had added "Mine." Sunlight pooled on the living room floor. The toys were neatly stacked in a corner, as if waiting for a child who had no reason to be afraid. A breeze stirred the curtain at the window. The room was warm, empty, and entirely at rest. The frame's glass reflected a sliver of light. The image inside was of a family. Sarah, Michael, their daughter, and Evelyn, the four who had rebuilt a world. The note's edge curled slightly. It had survived a winter inside that drawer, then been brought into the open, because it no longer held a sting. Down the hall, the baby's laughter bubbled from the garden, a sound that had once been fought for, and now simply was. The camera held on the quiet room. Every piece of furniture, every framed photo had been chosen by someone who finally trusted her own life. Outside, the neighborhood settled into evening. The streetlights had not yet blinked on. There was only the gold of the sinking sun, and the house, still and sure, waited for nothing and no one. It was already whole.